doctoring with you.
Yeah, I think he would gladly back you up.
What's that?
Dr. Enrique agrees.
I think what I understand from the Roman times is that they had gladiators and all of that stuff because they wanted to take people's minds off of other issues. How many of you are going to go to the UT Florida game? How many of you are, what is the difference between you and the people that went to see the gladiators? It's only a game. It is not a religion. Nobody cares at the, oh, well, I'm sorry.
That was the controversial
Who
statement.
cares if we win or lose? What difference in society is it going to make if Florida wins or UT wins?
A lot.
Who said a lot?
We've got some people
Well,
here.
the pain and stuff.
Liquor sales.
Liquor sales will increase.
I want to understand this idea of stability versus thing. That you said if there is manipulation in society, it's not only the media that manipulates it, there are other loops and other what? Stocks that are controlling that concept. Why did we not care about the racial tension? Because we're too busy watching football?
If it's not
People
directly
riot when their
affecting
teams
you,
win too.
if it's not directly
Is that
affecting
true
you,
at work too? Is that same concept true at work? That you have things that you focus on but are not relevant to the well-being of that system. You're supposed to argue with me. I'm putting my career on the line. That, you know, when I go back to UT, I may be fired at this moment. All right. Now, I want you to tell me, I want you to go to this page right here for a minute. If you go to the page 79 where it talks about self-organization, and I'm going to read a couple of things to you. The most marvelous characteristics of some complex systems is their ability to learn, diversify, complexify, and evolve. The capacity of a system to make its own structure more complex is called self-organization. Like resilience, self-organization is often sacrificed for the purpose of short-term productivity and stability. Those are different sentences that I had marked down on that particular page. So what is this idea when we talk about self-organization? What does that mean? It says the system's ability to evolve. The system's ability to evolve is called self-organization. Is there self-organization at this moment that is occurring in Charlotte? Yes or no?
Yes.
I would say no.
Explain that to me.
You got people that don't know each other coming together on different sides that normally wouldn't be doing whatever they're doing. So they're organizing, self-organizing to make changes to the system that they think is wrong.
Okay.
I'd say a riot is not evolving. I'd say it's devolving when you're at that stage.
No,
You're falling apart.
I mean, the system's already broke. They're trying to change it. Peaceful protest doesn't get
Because I push something
Still self-
to the limit, and I understand it, and I assume, we're going to make an assumption that at this moment we have pushed the system in Charlotte to its limit. And now we're testing to see, well, is it going to be able to come back, and is everything in Charlotte going to be fine in a short period of time? And that is because the police are going to do something, the citizens are going to do something, the federal government is going to do something, we're going to do something, everybody's going to do something, and hopefully by moving all of these loops, we're going to be able to control it. We don't know what the system's view is, but we're going to play around with each one. And if it comes back, the system was resilient. If the National Guard stays there for 26,000 years, the system was not resilient. Now, within that concept, do we see an evolvement at multiple different levels? And I'm not talking about one level, at different levels. Do we see at a federal level an attention to pay to this issue?
Yes, the Department of Justice is going to look into
I
it.
believe there were, I don't know if that is true or not, that members of Congress have gone out in front of the Justice Department and sat out there. Is that true?
Body cameras.
Huh?
The enforcement of body cameras on officers. Make them more accountable.
So,
Now, I'm not sure who I'm going to vote for. I want to talk to you about self-organization. I want to understand. Yes, sir, go ahead.
I guess I'm still a little confused about self-organization. If like your example of the National Guard staying there, you've changed the system at that point. Is that the point? Is that if it's
No, that, I said that if it, the only point I made there was not about self-organization, that if the system does not come back to where people can live among themselves together, then the system fell apart. If it comes back within a week, 2 weeks, a month, and comes back to itself, then the system was resilient.
so if you react and do something like he just said, like putting cameras on police officers, is that considered not resilient? Because you had to do something different than what the system was already doing?
The system evolves. I think the idea of camera is a part of it, but I want you to understand that the involvement and of that system is at different levels. And I want to kind of show you this.
Then,
For example, what are the presidential candidates saying about Charlotte? I want to know. Did they evolve their thought processes and their approaches based on what happened in Charlotte?
One day.
I don't know. That's your question. Is the city of Charlotte, the state of North Carolina, has it been changing to be able to address this issue?
No.
I mean, we don't know the answers. I mean, we don't know the answers, right? But if they are, it would be what? Self-organization. If at the city level, the police and the mayor and everybody is changing their systems to address this problem, it is a self-organization. The people that are writing, the way they organize is a self-organization. The police, on how they are self-organized, is a self-organization. So we are talking about self-organization at different multiple levels. Is that occurring?
Yes.
Hopefully. I mean, I don't know. Do you think it's occurring?
Yes.
In some places.
Right. Self-organization. Is there self-organization? Do you test resiliency at Ornell, at Y12, and at Rubbermaid? Yes or no?
Yes.
No.
I don't know. This is okay if you do it or don't do it. It's just simply when you go back with different ideas, and hopefully you can help that system.
It's tested all the time, it's not usually on purpose.
It's okay. I mean, and I think that is what Mark is trying to do, is to bring that idea of systems thinking and systems engineering into Y12. And I don't know Ornell, if Ornell is doing that or not, and I'm not sure what is Rubbermaid doing it, but that's the idea. Let me bring in one more concept because I have 5 minutes. The third concept in this is hierarchy. My God, my thought process was always that hierarchies are a terrible thing. Say yes. This book says that hierarchies have a purpose and in many ways are a good thing for a system to work? Tell me why. Tell me, one, why don't you like hierarchies? And then tell me, and turn around and tell me, what is the benefit of a hierarchy? And we're not talking about organizational hierarchy. We're talking about hierarchy of everything. Everything has a hierarchy.
I think one down thing from a hierarchy is that they can they have the ability to positively or negatively affect all the stuff that's underneath them. So and often, you know, you see all the time, you know, these CEOs, you know, with their golden parachutes, as everybody always says, you know, that they just take advantage of the system with their own personal gain.
Okay?
You know, the positive thing is that it gives people inspiration to kind of move up the ladder. You know, it's like, okay, well, you know, you can, you know, start.
So you
off
don't
small.
like hierarchies, Jeremy, from what I understand. You're
You have
told.
you have to have some form,
It
you have to have some kind of
organizes,
guideline of leadership.
So I'm not.
Like,
I'm not,
what about your family? I mean, I'd
So-
hate to think if my kids were making all of our financial decisions.
They are.
I probably wouldn't be here. I'd be on the
We're going to Disney World every day.
So I can understand it if I was having like 12 glasses of wine, I can understand this discussion. I would like to understand, are hierarchies good or bad? What are the benefits? And if I can understand that, I can use that concept to help design systems. Tell me.
I think they're good if the hierarchy is operating for the benefit of the system versus the benefit of just that element Jeremy was talking about. All right. You have a golden parachute, or if you, CEO of Wells Fargo is out talking about how he got rid of all these people that created fake accounts, but the years that this was going on, he got incentives from that activity. So
I saw that he made, it was either $200 million or $1 billion.
250 million.
Right.
Dollars.
So he, you know, is trying to appear that he's operating for the good of the system. For the good of the system, we can't have people going out and creating fake accounts, but his actions don't show that because
Well,
he
here's
was incentivized. for
Here's
that.
the thought process that came in. I mean, I looked at part of the discussion. And he said, well, this is not what Wells Fargo did. This is not, there was just a whole bunch of, few people, but there's not a few people, it's 5,000 people. All right? But then I go back to what I learned in this class. I learned in this class that people behave how? Based on how the system is designed. And what were they under pressure to do?
Open account.
Sell, what is it, what's the word, cross, when you have one account and you have open up another account and you have one account and you open up another account or something like cross accounts or something that. And what they did is, on the average in the banking system, you have 3 cross accounts, well, if that's the word. Here, they went to 8. So if you had one account, they would want you to open up 7 other accounts. And because this number, 3 to 8, meant there was more money and more transaction and so forth down the line, their value of their stock went up. And their stock is at this moment, at one time, Wells Fargo was the #1 bank in terms of its value. But it came from that system. And where did that system work? I don't know what is it, $200 or $250 million. Everybody got benefits from that. And it was because of that. That's the system. So for me to say, I'm going to open up an account for Carla without Carla knowing it, it's my fault? I don't know. I mean, these are things that you have to think about. Now, I don't want to take Dr. Cook's time, but here's one thing I want to read. I want to add one more time, one thing. In the process of creating, and this is on page 82 and 83 that I'm going to read this. In the process of creating new structures and increasing complexity, one thing that a self-organizing system often generates is hierarchy, which is okay. Now I'm going to read the next one, and I want you to cringe, okay? Like when I read it, I want you to make faces. Hierarchies are brilliant systems inventions. Not only because they give us system stability and resilience, but also because they reduce the amount of information that any part of the system has to keep track of. In hierarchical systems, relationships between subsystems are denser than and stronger than relationships between subsystems. I want you to read this again. Okay, nobody's making cringing faces. Hierarchies are brilliant systems inventions. This is in the middle of page 83. You know, right after that line, there's a line in the middle of it. It's the next sentence after that. Tell me.
I'm okay with that myself, because like as a system engineer, I wouldn't be able to do my job if I had to go get my own money, you know what I'm saying, or do my own benefits, you know, so, you know, basically you're we have our job, we have our focus. I don't need to know what, you know, programs are doing or what security's doing.
I underlined
that's what
something,
it's
but
saying to me.
I want to read this out to you again. It says the following. If the feedbacks in this hierarchy take too long to address a problem, if it says, oh, we should do this, right? And it takes you 26,000 years to get it done. That hierarchy is not something that you want. Now, I'm going to ask this question here, and you can refuse to answer it. At Y12, at ORNL, and at Rubbermaid, how long does it take you to take action?
Excessive.
I don't know. I'm just asking the question. You said, we don't know hierarchy is good or bad. Some people think its hierarchies are good. But the question is not that hierarchies are not good. The hierarchies are good. The hierarchies are good only if they do what?
Support your needs, I guess.
Enhance the ability of the organization. Why? Because each department, each hierarchy works well. For example, Carla and I work, right? Carla and I work less with chemical engineering. So majority of what we have to decide is here. Majority of what we have to decide is with Enrique and about 20, 30, 40 other people. That is a dense decision-making, quick decision-making. We don't have to work with chemical engineering, so therefore it becomes looser and looser. But if I want to do something, but it has to go here and here and here and here and here and here and here, by the time the decision is made, the problem goes away by itself. That hierarchy and the way it is designed is not a good hierarchy. So today, Mark, I'm sorry, I got 2 more minutes.
Take your time.
I don't know what we did today. I think we talked about Charlotte. But what came to me is a couple of ideas that seem to be things that we don't think about. That we have to create systems that are resilient. Because things happen, we have to be able to create systems that are resilient. That these systems over time can self-organize in ways to adapt to things. And in order to do that self-organization, there's a need of a systematic, efficient hierarchy. Notice what I didn't say hierarchy, I said what? Efficient hierarchy. And here's something. Those systems that work well are resilient, have the ability to self-organize, and have an effective hierarchy. That's the question. Do you have the ability to handle resilience? Do you have a resilient system? Watch this. Last time that you had a difficulty with your kid or your spouse, you tested the limits How did you become resilient? You self-organized and said, what? All right, honey, you can have all of this. Is that true? And then hierarchy shifted from what? I'll make decisions on this, and then you approve them and all that kind of stuff, and all of it went whoop, the opposite. It happened. You see it every day, except we don't see it within companies. We don't see it within organizations, and I'll tell you why. Because we don't feel that we are empowered. You never see a vision of the system. How many of you are hired to do a job? Raise your hand. How many of you are to make Y12 or Nell or Rubbermaid or UT effective? So here's what I'm going to do, if it's okay. I'm going to write these up in addition to the 2 pages that I'd given to you of the key concepts. And then what I'm going to do is bring to you an example from the outside, not from Y12, on what we mean by this concept of resilience. What do we mean by self-organization? And what do we mean by this? Is this helpful in your thinking? Have you become a better person at home because of this class? You're supposed to say yes.
Yes.
So you're supposed to lie at this moment, see?
100%.
Huh?
100%.
Have you become a better, I would not say employee, do you start to think a little differently about some things? I do. I'm starting to think, not that I take action on it, but I am starting to think a little differently because of this. It says, oh my God, if my kids are not behaving correctly, it's not that kid's fault.